This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Change is in the air as the clouds roll in once again across the skies of Africa. The humidity is ramping up, and so are we, because it is the start of your sunset safari. A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Sebastian is on camera with me to go out and see what we can find. A very warm welcome to the schools joining us this afternoon. We have Joy James and R.M. Moore Elementary School, so very warm welcome to the kids joining us. We have quite a wide age group between 6 and 11 years old, so I'm going to have to explain exactly what it is that we do out here. For our regular viewers, please keep sending through your questions on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or on the comments section of YouTube, and we will get to them after we are finished with our school drive. But first, to the kids joining us, we are out in Africa, and what you are seeing is happening right here in real life right now. So it's the afternoon where we are. It's morning for all of you. So what you kind of have to do is imagine that you're on the back of the vehicle with me. So you can hear my front tires squeaking, squeak, 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 squeak. It's hot. It is 84 degrees Fahrenheit this afternoon and quite humid. There's the smell of rain in the air coming from the south, and we're taking you to see wild animals of Africa. And because it's happening right now here in Africa, what that means is that you can actually send us questions or perhaps comments. And I'm going to start off by asking you what animals you would like to see. What animals do you think we're going to see on a safari this afternoon? Now, I have a few ideas. I'm thinking because it's quite warm still and the cold rain hasn't hit us yet, perhaps it would be a good idea to go to one of the neighboring waterholes, and maybe we'll get lucky and find some animals coming down for an afternoon drink, or we might even find some animals that live in the water all the time. So that's what we're out searching for. It's quite windy this afternoon, so some of the animals might be a little bit nervous. But we're lucky out here because it is nice and dry for the moment. However, there is someone else in a different country in Africa, and he is a little bit damp.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome up to the Masai Mara Triangle up in Kenya. My name is indeed Steve, and I'm joined by Big James on camera, and we have just been hit by an enormous thunderstorm. We've got everything covered up, all the sides down, the windscreen's up. Here's my windscreen wiper at the moment. So we are trying to get further away, to get away from the storm, so we can hopefully show you some animals. So jump on board, get your raincoats on, excitement in the air. I'm sure Jamie has told you how to send through your questions. Let us know what animal you'd like to see. We have got lots of zebra, wildebeest, elephants around at the moment, and maybe we'll be lucky and find you a lion or two. And there are also some cheetah around. But at the moment, with these walls closed, I can't see very well, so we're just trying to get away from the rain, which is coming from that side. And we're in a big metal box with a big pole on the back, so lightning can be quite dangerous for the car. So for the moment, we are just driving away, keeping the windscreen clean. Well, while we try and outrun the rain, we're going to send you back on down to South Africa with Brent Leo-Smith.
Well, hello and welcome, guys. Nice to have you on the vehicle with us. My name is Brent Leo-Smith. I've got my good friend David on camera, and we're looking for leopards. Now, this morning I was following a big male leopard, and I went to where I left him snoozing, but he's moved. I don't think he's moved too far. I think as it got a bit cooler this evening, he started to get up on the move, so I'm going to see if I can find him. His name is Tingana, and he is a big, beautiful boy. I hear some birds alarm calling. Let me go have a closer look. So one of the ways we find lots of animals is from the alarm calls of other animals. So what I mean by that is that if an antelope sees a leopard, it'll snort or bark. If birds see a leopard, they might tick, 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 or zip, 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 or psh, 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 psh. So all sorts of things to alert each other that there's a potentially dangerous animal about. Now with bird alarm calls, it could mean that there's a dangerous bird about, like a bird of prey, but sometimes it's also when there is a leopard around. Now I can hear them in this little Timbuti thicket here. There. Let me just poke my nose over the edge to see if I can see a leopard or if I can see his footprints. So this is a lovely spot for a leopard to have rested while it's hot. Any leopards down there, Dave? I don't see any. Now remember, send your questions through your teacher, because I would love to hear from you. But while I continue my search for Tingana, the male leopard, let's send you back to Jamie, who's on her way to Chitwa.
Now we've come to the first waterhole that we wanted to check, and oh dear, it seems as though it is completely dry. Hold on, I'm going to move around onto the wall of the waterhole that holds the water in. Well, in theory holds the water in, but unfortunately there is no water to hold in. It is difficult to really divide the days out here into seasons. Sometimes, well, we have winter and summer. We don't really get serious spring or autumn, but we think of it as the dry season and the wet season. Now in October, it is right at the end of our dry season. So it has been weeks and months without proper rain. Sometimes it drizzles a little bit, but it never rains properly. So for another month or so, we're still going to be waiting for the rain to fall. So I guess there's not much here at this waterhole because it's completely dry. You can see how dry it is because the mud's actually completely dried out and all cracked. Do you want to know something amazing? Is that even though that mud is dry and there's no water left, there are still fish in this waterhole. Now, why would I say that? Because there is a species of fish that is very, very good at surviving the seasons out here, because there's not often water that stays all year round. It's a type of fish called a catfish, and what they do is they crawl deep, deep, deep into the mud, and they form a sort of a capsule, kind of like a pod of some description. So they form this capsule around them, and it helps to keep them still moist down there, and they can actually survive for a very long period of time before it rains again. And then when the water fills up the waterhole, then the fish can break out and then they start swimming around once again. Okay, so this was not the best waterhole to check. What have you got? There's some...
I was just checking if there was anything in that mud there.
Ah, Seb's checking some mud there. Now, Mrs. Rivet and Addison would like to see a hippopotamus on our safari. Well, there isn't one here, but the good news is that I think I know where to find us some hippopotamus. So, let us leave this waterhole and go in search of a hippo. And we can go and have a look for one. Now, apparently the whole class is wondering, if it is this dry, how do the animals get water? There are places where there is water. So I was actually on my way to a place where I know there's water. I just had to come past this dry water hole, and I thought I'd show it to you because it explains the season really well. But during this time of year, the animals have to walk really long distances to places where there's a bit more water. Water holes that are a little bit bigger than that one, that have always he's got a bit more water. And because there are lodges, in other words, places where tourists can come and visit, there's also places where water is pulled up from under the ground by a pump and put in little water holes in front of the lodges so that the guests can see animals. So that's where they will go to drink. That's where the animals go to drink, and those are the places that we check to see if we can find something. And the thing about this time of year is that the predators know exactly what we know. They know that animals have to go and drink, and they know that there's not many places for them to go and drink. So what they do is they spend a lot of time sitting around the water holes waiting for an antelope or perhaps a buffalo to come down and have a drink. We're just going to go through this dip quite quickly, just in case it causes us any problems. It doesn't look like it will. And up we go the other side. I hope you're all holding on. Now, while we're driving along like this, what you'll notice is that we often look down at the road next to us. And the reason that we do that is because we're looking to see if we can find footprints in the dirt. Now, not human footprints. We know where the people are. We don't need to find the people. But we're looking for animal footprints, and every animal has a completely different and unique footprint. Now, we know what each animal's footprint looks like, and so by looking down like this, which is what I'm sure Brent has been doing lots of because he's looking for a leopard, we can actually see what's walked along the road, because animals like roads. They like to walk on roads. They make their own pathways through the bush. But if there's a road, they'll happily walk on it. So it helps us to find the animals. Checking water, looking for tracks, following the tracks, those are some of the ways that we look for animals and we find them. So when we're in the bush, we're constantly using our eyes and ears. Now, I said that Brent would probably be looking very carefully for footprints of that leopard he's searching for. Let's go see if he's found any.
Well, we found where he was sleeping for a little bit. Now, it looks like he's headed to the south. So we're just checking to see if we can see where he crossed this road. I think he's probably in here somewhere between the two roads. But we're just going to go very slowly. And I think if he's going to cross this road, he's going to cross it on a big game path up ahead. So let's go see if there are footprints there. Okay, we look very carefully around here if we can see his footprints. I think he would have crossed somewhere here from where he was sleeping. He was sleeping in here, so somewhere in this area. Emma is wondering what type of birds we get around us. Lots of different species of birds, Emma. Starlings, go-away birds. Here we go. This is where he crossed. Oh, it's a difficult track to see. It doesn't look like anything, but there. So this is where he's crossed. Is there an easier track behind you, Dov? Or are they still on hard ground? Hard ground. Okay. Well, this is where he's crossed the road. So I'm going to loop ahead. So a lot of tracking is guessing where the animal's going to do, so we can try find them faster. But back to Emma's question, yes, we have many, many different species of bird around here. Eagles, vultures, starlings, barbets, chats, cisticulars, aeromomelars, lots and lots of different types of birds. Okay, so this is where I think he's off to the left here. There is some water up ahead, so I'm just going to go very slowly again and look at the ground carefully. Make sure we don't have any footprints crossing this road as well. So there is water, and he might have gone for a drink. Means it got hot during the day. And it seems like I'm not the only one who's heading towards a waterhole. Let's go see where Jamie is.
I'm nearly at the waterhole, so I hope you're very excited to see what's hiding down here. You asked to see hippopotamus, and I think I can see several in the water. So this is a much, much bigger waterhole than the one we were at earlier. And that means that we can see all sorts of things that won't be at that dried out dam that we were at earlier. So here we go. Oh, so many hippos. I'm very sorry, Carter. I could not hear your question at all. Let me see if I can try again. Carter, while we look at the hippopotamus that we were so excited to show you, you want to know how plants stay alive if there isn't much water. So things like all of the plants out here are adapted to this type of climate. So the grass, for example, will still be alive, but only down below the surface of the soil. The top parts will become dried out and almost dead. Then when there's a little bit of rain, immediately they start to grow. There's also water below the soil. Oh, look at that. A yawn from a young hippo. I'm going to tell you what those yawns mean in a moment, but let me finish answering Carter's question. Also, remember that trees have very deep root systems, and they can actually reach right down below the surface of the soil to where there is water. So you know how you dig in a garden and the soil gets more and more damp as you dig down deeper? Maybe don't go dig up your parents' garden though, please, or perhaps ask them first if you can do it in the name of science. That's because there's water that doesn't evaporate, so there's water below the surface of the soil, and that's what the trees are trying to reach down for with their roots. Now, back across to the hippopotamus. When I said that they were yawning, that's not because they're tired. Hippopotamus yawn quite a lot, and it's actually a warning sign from them. So it's basically them saying, look how big and scary I am. Now that was a young hippo who doesn't have any tusks yet. So those yawns are basically its way of showing that it is big and scary and learning from the adults. Now that over there is an adult hippopotamus, and when it shows its tusks or its teeth, it is much, much scarier. So hippos living together in the waterhole. There we go, young one practicing again. I also think that they are actually grabbing something on the surface of the soil there. I mean, the surface of the soil, surface of the water is what I mean. It does look like they perhaps maybe eating something on the surface of the water. Hippopotamus? What do hippopotamus eat? Hippopotamus eat grass. Oh, another big yawn. So hippopotamus come out of the water at night when it's a lot cooler. Sometimes they come out during the day, but only really when it's cloudy and rainy, because they've got very, very sensitive skins. They're playing with each other. They've got very sensitive skins, so they hide in the water during the day when the sun is bright and hot. And then at night they come out and they go grazing. Now grazing is the word we use for when animals go and eat grass. So that's what the hippos do at night. So hippos, even though they've got big, fierce looking tusks, don't generally eat any meat. Alex, you want to know what sounds they make. Sometimes it sounds as though the hippo are laughing at us because they make a sound that sort of sounds like this. And maybe if we listen quietly, I think the wind might make things a bit difficult. That hippo got a bit... Oh, it's a scratch across the top of its back. So if I hear the hippos making a sound, I'll be quiet, but I think the wind might make it a bit hard for you to hear. So often they make a snort as well, where they blow air. Oh, big one coming to discipline the youngsters a little bit. Stop, perhaps it's a mother with the calf in there. She might be stopping it from doing something. Oh, I see. Lots of hippos in there. Again, really sorry, I don't think I got your name right here, but we have a question from one of the students wondering. Safaria? So, Safaria, you want to know how many babies a hippo can have. A hippo only ever has one baby at a time. So they'll have one baby at a time, and throughout their lives, hippo can live up to 40 years old, sometimes even longer than that. So they can live for quite a long time, which means that the females can have quite a few babies in their lifetime. So they'll look after their baby for a couple of years, around about 2, maybe even 3 years, and then they're ready to have their next baby. So in an adult hippopotamus's life, she's ready to have babies at around about 13 years old, 10 to 13 years old. She could probably raise about 10 or maybe even, about 10 babies to adulthood, if she's really lucky and she manages to keep them safe from predators. Now, there's lots to look at. I'm sitting looking at the hippo, but I'm also looking out for crocodiles as well, because there's lots of water here, which means that there will be crocodiles around. I don't see any yet, but I'm going to keep searching to see if I can find some for you. Let's go see, speaking of searching, let's go see how Brent's search for the leopard is going.
Okay, so we're pretty confident. We've gone around. We can't find any tracks of the leopard coming out here. So we're going very, very slowly again. He might have moved down to this dry riverbed. It's a nice spot where leopards like to sleep when it's hot, and it was quite hot earlier today. There's some leopard food over there. Let's see if I can find it again. Now, from the class, you guys would like to know, how old do leopards get? Male leopards in the wild, normally 12 or 13 years old. Females a little bit older, up to 15 and 16. You do have some exceptions in both cases where they can live a bit older. There was a little antelope called a grey duiker, but it is duikered away. And that is one of the leopard's favorite foods, but it's disappeared. Okay. Let us keep checking. Now, you guys are wondering, what else do leopards eat? Now, leopards, of all the big cats, have the most variable diet. They're the most adaptable. Generally, they prefer small to medium-sized antelope. So, antelope from about this big to about this big. So we'll try to show you some of them as we're going through, but they will eat catfish, like Jamie was talking about a bit earlier. They'll eat birds' eggs, they'll eat pythons, lizards. They are very, very adaptable, and they can change their diet to suit the situation. But in an area like this, mostly duiker, which is an antelope, steenbokkie, which is also an antelope, impala, inyala, bushbuck, all antelopes. Antelopes will make up the majority of what they eat. There's a yellow-billed hornbill giving his beak a clean. There he is, he's just cleaning his beak against the branch there. Now, of course, as soon as I said, look at it, right, come on, clean your beak. Now, he's obviously been eating something sticky. Now he's shy, he doesn't want to clean his beak in front of you. Very big yellow bill. They have quite a varied diet. Oh, off he goes. I'm just keeping and checking here. Ah! Well, it seems like Jamie's having more luck in her searches than I am, because she wanted to see a crocodile and she's found one.
There we go. I knew if we searched for long enough we'd find you a crocodile. So this is one of the crocodiles that lives at this waterhole. Well, I mean, we say that. Crocodiles do move around, so they don't stay in the water all the time. They do have legs, and they can walk between waterholes. But at this time of year, when this is the only water around for quite a distance, they're not going to move very far, because this is where they want to be. Now, what this crocodile is doing at the moment is just resting. So I remember how I told you that predators wait around the water's edge to wait for something to come and drink. A crocodile does something similar. He hides, or she, underneath the surface of the water, and then when something comes to drink, like an antelope, then the crocodile will be ready and waiting, and they can swim very, very quickly. They've got strong, strong tails that push them forward, and then they grab their food that way. They can be quite scary animals, but they're also amazing animals to see. Oh, look at that! Awesome! There's another bird there's a bird of prey that is now hidden. Hold on. What are we doing? Are we?
His head, but I think we should go.
I think we should go around. So Sev did an amazing job of spotting that fish eagle, but now it's gone behind a mound of dirt. So we're going to move around. Just while we move around for that bird, just to let you know, Steve, who you briefly met in the Mara, is alive and well. He's absolutely fine. He's just had to turn off all the equipment in the vehicles because there's some quite serious lightning in the Mara. So he's just being safe and turning off all the equipment so that he doesn't have a problem. Now, don't worry about him. He's fine. Possibly a bit bedraggled, but otherwise fine. We know all about that. That weather in the Mara comes very quickly and can be quite dramatic. How's that there? Perfect. So there you go. Now this particular bird also lives... Did you hear the hippo? There you go. Remember how I told you they sound like they're laughing? That was a hippo. Right, back to the fish eagle. Fish eagles, like crocodiles and hippos, usually live around water as well. And that's, of course, why they have the name fish eagle, because they catch fish. So you'll see how it doesn't have feathers all the way down to its feet. That's so that it can go into the water without getting its feathers all bedraggled. Now, I think it's just come down here for a drink, actually, rather than trying to catch a fish, because this isn't the typical way that a fish eagle will hunt. A fish eagle will soar over the water, and it will spot a fish, and it will swoop down and grab it out of the water with its talons. So that's how fish eagle fish for fish. But this one is just coming down to have a drink. There's always lots and lots to look at around the water's edge. Isn't he beautiful? Or she? Can't tell. With fish eagles, both the males and the females look alike. Oh, Amelia would like to know how big those hippos are. Now, Amelia, a hippo is one of the biggest animals out here. So some of those hippos are actually quite small. You can see the ones in front there, they're quite tiny, but there are some adults around at the back. Now, a big full-grown hippo can be 2,000 kilograms, 2 tons. Now, to give you an idea of how big that is, if you were to take 2 small cars, or perhaps maybe a station wagon, maybe if your parents have station wagons or you've seen station wagons, or 2 small cars, or maybe even 3 Priuses, that is how big a big hippopotamus is. That's over 4,000 pounds. So even if all of you together in your class all stood together on a scale, you still would not be nearly as big as a hippo. Now, to show you how tall they are, I'll have to show you with my hand next to the car. So if a hippo were to come and stand right next to me, right next to the car, first of all, I'd be a little bit worried because we don't really want hippos that close to us. They can be quite dangerous. But a hippo would kind of be around about here from the ground. It's a bit difficult for you to see, but a hippo's shoulder would be about there-ish. Okay, so they're not that tall. Some of you might even be taller than a hippo, but they are very, very, very big, which means they're also very strong. But a lot of people think that because a hippo is so big, it can't move very fast. A hippo can run very, very quickly, faster than all of you. Even if you're the fastest in your class, it can run faster than you can. So never judge an animal by its size alone. Let's have a look at that fish eagle again, I think, just because it is so pretty and we don't often get to see them drinking. And I think it's actually having a bit of a bath as well. How cool is that? Look how damp its feathers are. Are you going to have another bath? So most birds are quite hygienic. So they'll often go and usually around a puddle, but on the edge of a water hole like this as well, what they'll do is they'll put their feet in and then they will cover their feathers in water. But they don't get waterlogged because birds actually secrete a type of oil onto their feathers that helps to keep them waterproof. Because imagine if a bird, every time it rained, got completely soaking wet. You know, like when you wash your hair and it gets very, very wet and it stays wet for a long time. Now, if that happened to a bird's feathers, it wouldn't be able to fly. So that wouldn't be very useful at all. So birds secrete a special type of oil that coats their feathers and then helps to keep them waterproof. But they need to groom and it's a bird equivalent of brushing your hair. So the birds reach down with their beaks and they push their feathers around and push them back in place and cover them with that oil. But sometimes they like to come and have a little bath as well. They also like to bath in dirt. Now that sounds a little bit silly because why would you bath in something that makes you dirty? But that's because birds get all sorts of parasites as well, like ticks, small ticks, and perhaps something like that, a parasite that lives in their feathers, or mites that suck the blood from their skin. So by going and pouring or coating their feathers in dust or dirt, it actually helps to dislodge those predators. So it sort of gives them a really nice feeling. It's like scratching your back when they bath in dirt. It sounds silly, but that's something that they do. This fish eagle is absolutely loving the water. Look at the way it's walking. It's giving you a really nice view of its talons every time it lifts up its feet. Now what you will notice is that it's actually picking through a pile of dung there, and I've absolutely no idea why. Not a clue. It's a pile of elephant dung. The only thing I can think is that maybe there might be some insects in there. Perhaps some dung beetle larvae. I don't know if you've ever seen a maggot, but a dung beetle larvae kind of looks like that, just a little bit bigger. Maybe that's what it's looking for. Otherwise, I honestly don't have a clue. Maybe it's like a vitamin supplement for the fish eagle. Well, since it's such a good place to be, we're going to stay at the waterhole a little bit longer. Brent has had to work much harder to find things, but I think he might be on the right track.
Well, we are on the right track. Just got some bad news about that right track. So here we go. Darby had a nice one. Where is he? Am I going to stand on it? This one here. So here we go. This is the track of a male leopard. I can tell it's a male by the size. Females will be about half that size. And it looks bigger than it normally is because the sand's very soft here. But unfortunately, he has crossed over our boundary. So even though there are no fences, the animals can go where they want. Us as people, we can't. So I'm going to mark that for my little brother who works down this side, so he can go look for that leopard. If I can't find it, at least my little brother can find it. Well, it's one of those things. So I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go down to the east now. I'm still going to look for leopards, but I'm no longer going to be looking for a male leopard. I'm going to go look for a female leopard called Tundi, and hopefully we'll find some fresh sign of her. And let me just... Hello, Brady. Brady is wondering how fast can leopards run? Very, Brady, very. Hang on. Sorry, Dave. I thought I saw him. It's not him there. Oh, dear. So, Brady, a leopard can do about 24 meters per second. It's around 90 kilometers an hour, but they can only keep it up for a very short time. With incredible acceleration. There's some leopard food. So that is a steenbok, one of the small antelope I was telling you before it backed off. One of the small antelope I was telling you about that leopards like to eat. Hello, little steenbokkie. And a male or female? I can't see. Female. Yeah. Little female. Off she goes. Scamper, scamper into the bushes. Now the reason they're called a steenbok, a steen is a stone in Afrikaans, and one of their ways to hide from creatures like leopards is just to keep really, really still, and they'll hide down in the grass and hope they don't get spotted. Now, also the area I'm heading to now, I'm hoping that even if there aren't any leopards around, there might be an elephant or three. So we have what is called a game drive radio, which we talk to the other cars, so we can help each other to find out where the animals have gone and and to help each other find animals. So I'm just gonna talk to my little brother quickly. Dylan. Okay, well, I can't get hold of my brother. Sheldon. Yeah, Tingana crossed around Dukas Open in the last 20 minutes. We were Impala alarming and the tracks crossed just to the east of the road. Okay, so we're going to go this way now. Go see what we can find. Well, I'm going to rattle my way off to the east. While I do that, let's send you back to Jamie, who's relaxing at the waterhole.
I am relaxing. I'm having a wonderful time. It's one of my favorite things in the world to come and sit in the wild next to a waterhole and just enjoy looking at the animals. I think this is one of the best ways to spend an afternoon. Now, we do have to actively search for animals, but sometimes it's nice to just sit and wait and watch them come to us. Look on the opposite end of this waterhole and you'll see what I mean. There's some antelope over there, and there's also lots and lots of birds. I don't think I've ever seen that many Egyptian geese in my entire life.
No.
So there's an impala, which is that antelope over there. And then those birds are Egyptian geese. I cannot believe how many of them there are. There's another impala walking down to the water's edge. This is crazy. This must be some kind of conference. They've come from far and wide. So there we go. Remember how I said lots comes to the water's edge? Well, there's some antelope for us. And I think I might even have seen a giraffe, but unfortunately I can't see it anymore. It seems to have gone to hide. So we'll watch the Egyptian geese for a little bit because they're so entertaining. Now, this is a type of bird that is called an Egyptian goose. But why is it called an Egyptian goose? Not because it comes from Egypt. That's the first thing that everybody thinks when they see Egyptian geese. It's not because it comes from Egypt. It's because the colors around the goose's face look a little bit like the ancient Egyptian paintings or sort of hieroglyphs or artwork that showed how the ancient Egyptians used to wear their makeup. They used to outline their eyes in kohl, and they'd have all sorts of fancy ways of decorating their faces. And that's why Egyptian geese are called Egyptian geese. It's because they look like those ancient pictures. Well, there's lots and lots here. I don't know why there are so many. It's obviously because there's so little water around that this is the best place or the only place for them to come. So I was joking when I said that it's an Egyptian goose conference. It's just because there's not much water. Now, this impala, now that it's had a drink, is coming to feed on the short grass around the edge of the dam. When there's lots of water, there's nice green grass to be found as well. That is a male impala. The reason that I know that it is a male impala is because it has horns. So the female impala don't have horns. It's difficult. Some female antelope have horns and some don't. It depends on the species of antelope. So it's not like a deer, where it's very, very unusual for a female to have antlers. In antelope, there are lots of different species that have horns. Something like a wildebeest, for example, is a type of antelope where the females have horns. It just depends on where they live. So impala like to hide away in quite thick vegetation. See how careful this impala is being? Remember, we showed you that crocodile earlier. Now, the antelope know that crocodiles live in the water, and they know that they can't necessarily see them. So they'll try and go to the shallowest part of the water hole, where they can see the bottom of the water, or down to the bottom of the dam. And then they drink in exactly this position that this impala's adopted, because he's got to be ready to run at any moment. So if the crocodile, if he sees any kind of movement, he will race off to avoid being the crocodile's lunch. Unfortunately, for the schools joining us, for the students joining us today, apparently you can't stay on safari with us the whole time, and you do actually have to go back to your normal school day. So it's been wonderful having all of you. It's been an absolute joy. I hope you enjoyed your first safari, and I hope that we have you on the back of our vehicles once again very, very soon. And now we return to our regular safari. Look at that. I'm not going crazy. Or am I? No, it is. That's the back of that hippo.
I think so, but it's got lots of scars.
It really does have a load of scars there. Sure. That poor hippo. So earlier on, during our school drive, I thought I actually saw a dead hippo. I thought that they were actually munching around a hippo carcass, because hippos do occasionally scavenge meat or feed around a hippo carcass, and I saw one bobbing in a strange way, and I thought that perhaps there was a dead hippo that they'd all gathered round. But now this one is not a dead hippo, that is a live hippo. It just happens to, its back looks as though it's gone through a mincer. Ouch. That must be really, really painful. No, it's definitely alive.
Sure.
Wow. I wonder. Maxie, that's most likely from a fight with another hippo. But the odd thing is that I don't think that that's a male hippo. I think that's a female hippo. So what it could be, and it's definitely very much alive. Sure. I was quite convinced there was a hippo carcass in this waterhole at one point, just for the way these youngsters were behaving, but it's not. It could also be an escape from lions. Now, I don't know which male lions have been around this area. Would I put it past the Nkuhumas to tackle a hippo? No. They are. And we know that buffalo dinners have been scarce up until recently. So is it possible that it was a lion pride? I don't think that lions would have actually managed to inflict such grievous wounds without either succeeding or suffering injuries themselves. I'm also very curious as to what these young hippos are munching. Oh, that was sweet. Look how big and scary it is. Rosalind, yes, hippos do have good hearing. It isn't one of their necessarily their most dominant sense, but the thing about hippos is you can really see that they are adapted to live with their heads around the surface of the water. So their nostrils are basically in line with their ears, giving them the capacity to both listen and smell right on the surface of the water. I just don't know if there's some sort of high mineral content there or something. I've seen baby hippo practice coprophagy, where they eat the dung of their mothers. And that's one of the ways that they get all sorts of good things into their digestive tract, like, most importantly, the bacteria that aid their digestive process. Of course, as a herbivorous animal, they need some way of breaking down plant material, and the way that they do that is a high concentration of a type of bacteria in their gut. In the case of hippo, they are foregut fermenters, so most of that fermentation happens in the front of their gut rather than sort of the back part, in contrast to in contrast to zebra or rhino. Arid, there you go. The answer to your question is no. Hippos do not ruminate. You can divide herbivores to oversimplify. You can divide herbivores into two different digestive approaches. One is the ruminants. Antelope would be an example. So would cows. So would giraffe. Oh, these hippo are having the best time. Great games. And they. What was I talking about? Oh, yes. And they will basically need to eat about half of what a hindgut fermenter will need to eat if they're around about the same weight. So zebra and wildebeest are two animals of a similar-ish weight, and wildebeest are ruminants while zebra are hindgut fermenters, and the zebra will need to eat about twice what a wildebeest needs to eat in order to survive. A hindgut fermenter doesn't bring up a ball of food or cud that is then chewed again and then passed through the 4 different chambers of the stomach, or the 4 different stomachs, or 3 after it has been regurgitated. And a hindgut fermenter has a normal structure in the same way we do. So there's the stomach and then there's the intestines, but there's a large chamber where the grass basically sits and the bacteria ferment, hence the name hindgut fermenters or foregut fermenters. And it's very easy to see the difference. So if you ever see hippo dung, it's got lots and lots of quite large clumps of only partially digested grass. It's quite coarse. I'm still intrigued by that poor hippo. I haven't seen injuries like that on a hippopotamus for a while. It's typical to see injured hippos at this time of year because space is at something of a premium. As the water holes dry up, the hippos become more and more, their choices are limited as to where they can go, and fights start to break out. They get very stressed, they get aggressive, and they fight with each other. It's usually the males, but it might have been a female. Perhaps trying to protect her youngster, I don't know. It's a strange one. A very, very strange one. I could be wrong. Oh, surprise! How long have we been sitting here? Long enough to have noticed the crocodile. Oh, it's a little one. I know that you've been watching young crocodiles at Chitwa Dam for a while, but I haven't been here for a year and a half, so I didn't see any of the little ones. That one is probably about just over a foot. So it's still a young crocodile. At this sort of size, at this sort of age, it's eating little fish, if it can get them. So it's past the stage of when they're very small, they'll eat things like tadpoles or mosquito larvae. I think I've misheard the question. And did Lady Starfire ask if they would eat beef?
That's what I had to.
Geese! That makes a lot more sense. Sorry, Lady Starfire. I didn't think that was what you'd asked, but that was what I heard. Lady Starfire would like to know if crocodiles would eat geese. Yes, if they could catch them. Crocodiles are not fussy. There's actually not that many things that a crocodile will not eat. And they will eat Egyptian geese if they can get them. Babies would be high up on the menu because they're slower than the adults. So yes, they would eat Egyptian geese. It always... They're so entertaining. I wish we could get close around that side. We could watch them. Because, I mean, I've never seen that many Egyptian geese in one place in my entire life. I always marvel at the way that geese seem to feel supremely confident as they wander around the water's edge. They don't have nearly the same nervous reaction that the antelope do. But yes, a crocodile would eat a geese. Why can't I get the word goose and geese right today? Would eat a goose if the opportunity presented itself, particularly a small crocodile. It might also raid the nests of ground nesting birds. Oh, there's another one. Is that a crocodile or a monitor? It was right next to where the fish eagle was. I swear that wasn't there when the fish eagle was there. Down in the...
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Down by where the...
Crocodile.
It is a crocodile. That was not there.
No.
Oh, no, that wasn't there.
But I also don't think that one was there. I think he also arrived just now.
Okay, good. So we're not going... Seb and I are not going mad. Both crocodiles have suddenly come wandering out. I think it's because the sun's come out and they're anticipating a temperature drop. They're probably aware of the cold front. And they've come out to bask a little bit. Store up some energy. well, they can't really necessarily store it up, but heat themselves up a bit. Crocodiles, of all the reptiles, do have a certain degree of control over their body temperature. They're not as reliant as on external factors. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering how Brent's search is going and where he has been all this time. So am I. Let's find out.
Okay, well, it seems like Tingana might be playing some tricks with us. He might have come back, well, we're not sure. There's been a report of a leopard in this drainage system. Now, of course, it could be Hasana as well, it could be Tandi, we're not 100% sure. But we just know it is around here. So we are back in this area. We turned around quite quickly when we heard the report. We're just trying to see where. Okay. It's possible he could have gone there, seen something or smelt something he didn't like and come back again. I can see the vehicle up ahead. Okay, so somewhere in this drainage system around here. Okay, I just heard Aubrey saying, copy, thanks Orbs. So we should be getting a view shortly. I think what we're going to do is try get ahead of him. Heading west, there he is. Oh, he's right in those thickets, Darby. I just saw his tail. There he goes. You see him there? Okay, we're going to have to shoot around, I think. We're not going to get through this big dry river system. Let's shoot around. Well, we're not sure, as I said, which leopard it is. It could be Tingana, it could be Hasana. If it is Tingana, I wonder what tracks we had crossing the road there. Now, it's always possible that another dispersal male leopard has wandered through the area and those are the tracks. So let's zoot around. He might head to Treehouse Dam for a drink, whoever it may be. Michelle says it would be nice if it was Tandi. That's the one cat I'm sure it's not. I saw it through the trees there. It was definitely a male. And judging from what I could see, I think it is indeed Tingana from the size. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, he's moving that way. Okay, sorry, he's... Okay, sorry guys, he's going through some real thick stuff there. Clifford is asking how many leopards are currently in the area. Well, probably 2 that we know of, although those tracks going across could have been Hosanna. So it looked like he was moving into this area here, into this broken... There he is, oh big beautiful boy, it is Tingana. So I was saying, forward, back. He might go towards Treehouse for a drink. So I wonder if that's not Hosanna's tracks that crossed the road down there. And maybe that's what the impala were alarm calling at. He is magnificent, and it is beautiful afternoon light. Aussie Bonnie is wondering, how much longer do I think Tingana will rule his territory? Oof, that's a difficult question. I mean, he's still in very good condition, so there is a chance he could last another year or so. It also all just depends on what other males are moving into the area, whether there's more pressure coming from Hukumuri. So it's very dependent. We can't be 100% certain. But for now, he is definitely ruling the roost. Gemma is wondering, who is the oldest living leopard at Djuma? Oof. I'm not 100% sure, Gemma. Probably Tundi, eh? Probably Tundi. Okay, I'm just trying to... Elmarie's wondering when he last had a meal. A while ago. He's very hungry, Elmarie. He's been mating with a female. Let me just get off the road so Aubrey can also come through. Look at that. Isn't he beautiful? You can see that concave belly showing that he is quite hungry still. As I said, he might do a loop towards Treehouse Dam, hopefully, which will take him away from the boundary. And as I say, he is hungry, and this area is heading into, has a lot of Steenbok and Duiker, as well as Impala. Oh, bless you. Oh, bless you. There's two battaliers in the tree. See them, Darby? Above him, where he's about to walk. There we go. And a scent mark again, shortly. No, he's not. He's just walking past that marula. Can't believe it. Okay, we got to do some bunda bashing to keep up with him. But at least we have caught up with him. Okay, well, we've got some great grand news because the rains have abated up north in the Mara. So let's go say hello to Steve, who's pretending to be Scuba Steve today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about that. We just got hit by the hugest storm. We made it through the coming in us there. Good afternoon to from Nara. It's myself, Steve, joined by Big James on camera. There is kind of what we've just passed through. Doesn't look doesn't look as it did, but it's moving quite quickly. There was enormous amounts of lightning, and that unfortunately is the problem. And then lots of rain as well. We couldn't see anything, but we're back. We are through the storm, and we believe the Olololo Pride is on the hunt. So we've come all the way back towards the base of the escarpment where we saw them early on our way out, and they crossed over to sort of the good side of the road, the side of the road that we can, if need be, follow them. But they were on this side. This is a very inaccessible area, but they've crossed that side. They're huge herds of wildebeest along the base of the escarpment just up ahead. We might pull up and see if we can get you a nice view. I'm not sure exactly where the lines are, but by the state of all the vehicles over here, I'm going to assume that they're nearby. There's the wildebeest herds in the distance. You see them just up on the escarpment. I'm really throwing James under the bus here with my positioning, but the road is beautifully cambered. Now, if you've never heard of the word cambered before, the way that the road sort of concaves on, or is convexed on the road so that all of the water flows down the side, and it works very, very well. The whole way we've driving to get back here, the rain and the water is channeling down the sides of the road and not staying on the road, which is what you want. But because it's quite wet and muddy, the herds move up the hill like that, and somewhere in amongst there, just behind them there, the road up to our camp, and somewhere around here there are some hunting lions. It's very difficult to see because the grass is very long. But we're going to have a little scan around with the trusty binoculars. James is using the camera to see what we can see. Have you got them, James? Hey? Okay. We're going to move forward and we're going to get you them. Constance, how cold does it get here? It doesn't get below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, apparently. If you're out on the vehicle all night, I suppose it can get a little bit colder, but it's very mild temperatures, really. We're on the tropics, we're in the equator, so the temperature's pretty much standard. And there's Jandre, just in there. Smile, Jandre. Jandre is out assisting us this afternoon with a whole lot of extra filming, behind the scenes stuff. And somewhere up here, where did you think they were, James? By this vehicle. Okay, James thought he could see something. Just gonna poke our nose up here and see what we can see. Okay, well, while we try and scratch around and see what we can find, let's go back down to Jamie Patterson.
Shame, this poor little impala. Seb actually spotted it. I was just sort of trying to decide if we were going to actually be able to get a good view of them, and Seb spotted this poor female. She's one of last year's babies. You can see how thin she is, and she's got a really, I can't see what's caused it. It's probably a broken ankle, or not actually ankle, because her ankle's right up there. It's probably a broken metatarsal, and it is clearly causing her an immense amount of pain. Now, if it is a broken bone, if it is a broken leg, oh, it's swollen. Yo. Now, looking at it compared to the other one, that's not great for an impala, because there are just so many things out here that target them already. As Seb's just pointed out, it must be so terrifying. It's scary to be an impala. Now imagine being an impala with a leg that doesn't work all that well, an impala that can't run. It must be terrifying. Oh, that's so swollen there. Shame. She can't put any weight on it. She could heal. I have seen stranger things happen, but it's entirely a matter of luck. If a wild dog pack were to come running through here, right now, she'd be gone. If a leopard were to target them, she'd be gone. If hyenas would come through and spot her, same thing. So it really is pure luck. Will she be with an impala herd that's alert, spot predators? Because a predator won't, unless it's a dog or a hyena, something like a cat, a leopard, won't go for a herd of impala that's alarm calling at it, that's seen them, unless they notice that she's really, really incapable of running. It's pure luck. Shame. Nature can be very, very harsh. Kimberly, I know, poor little thing, and she is little. I don't know, my heart always wrenches a little bit when I see stuff like this. She's made it through that terrifying first year of life, when she was a lamb and everything out there was eating them, because of course impala birthing season is a wonderful time for predators. I'm just putting on my jacket because I'm cold with this wind. shame. She's made it through all those tough times, and it was probably something so simple, unless it was a snake bite, in which case she could actually be okay. You know, it could be a snake bite around the hock, or not the hock, but around that area. And it's just swollen, and she's going to process the venom, and then it'll be okay. But it's really impossible to know. I don't think so, though. I think it's a break. Poor little lady. We're going to move on, try and race to the hyena den before the end of the slightly shortened sunset safari. There is an animal that this impala definitely wouldn't like to meet. Fortunately, it's all the way in the Mara, so that is supremely unlikely.
And look at what we found. At least one lioness with 2 youngsters. Trying to figure out, she's not very happy. Look at her, she's constantly growling. But I think it's the youngsters that are causing her to do so. Every time they come close to her, she growls and growls, and not 100% sure who these are at the moment. We're right at the bottom access of the road up the escarpment back up to our camp. And we were going to take a bit of an access up that road to come down back into sort of the elevated area, so that we could see what was going on where those lions were hunting. The Olololo pride further back. This is probably 3 members of that pride. See, she's not happy. Look at her. Not at all happy. It might not be her cubs. There's an amber eyes in the making right here. Just grumpy with life. Just grumpy, grumpy, grumpy. Very typical, that sort of facial expression, and we see Thandi do it all the time when she's a little bit displeased with Tlalamba, and often it happens around feeding when the youngsters are supposed to stay where she's meant to be. But right now these youngsters are enjoying a bit of the rain, but while we keep seeing if we can find any more of them, let's go back down to the Duke and Brent.
Well, Tingana is going to take us through a whole bunch of thickets like he did this morning again. Unfortunately, he didn't head towards Treehouse Dam. He is steadily moving south towards our southern boundary. Hopefully he manages to catch something between there and here, so he stays with us a little longer. He's sniffing and testing the air. Hassan is wondering what would happen if Hukumori and Tingana came face to face. It's difficult to say. Sometimes male leopards will just sort of posture and saw and scent mark. Other times they will actually tangle with each other. It's very seldom they actually physically fight. It's actually quite rare for male leopards. One might run away, one might stay. It's so difficult to say. It depends on a huge amount of factors, and just it can depend on the day. He's changed his mind. He's now going east, and he's zigzagging through the block. I think he's just hunting. Oh, southeast. Right, here we go. Bill is wondering, why do leopards always smell the bush before they scent mark? Well, just in case another leopard has scent marked there, Bill. So those favorite scent marking spots are actually sort of signposts. There can be information left from 2 or 3 different leopards sometimes on the scent marks. Sorry, this is not a great area to have to off-road in. Let's plan our attack through this monkey orange nonsense. There's a gap. I'm just trying to see if I can see him. looks like he might have stopped in one of the thickets. I'm just going to get around the front of him. No, he's going back. He's changed his mind. He might have heard something for a second that caught his attention. But now he's heading west again. So up, down, around. Let's send you all the way up to the north to Steve, who's in the Masai Mara.
Well, we've left those 3 lions where they were, and well, we're not off-road, we're on a road, believe it or not. 2 vehicles moved off over there to follow up on probably the rest of the pride that was hunting. So we've moved out of that area because it's on the main road. We're quite close to Ololola Gate, and wow, it suddenly got very, very busy. So off we go, and there's 2 vehicles over there, both Ngama, I believe. So that's a lot more my kind of style, you know. All those other gates, the guys are rushing to be out of the gate in the next 15-20 minutes. But we thankfully can stay a little bit longer. But I'm hoping that these animals are close to the road, because there's no way I'm going off-road in these conditions are way too muddy. I mean, this is a road. You can feel, I don't know if you can feel it, but the whole car is moving. Brent is listening in very closely that I'm going to become part of the Marshmallow Club. Not today, Mr. Leo Smith, not today. Oh, Monique, I'd love to find you some jackals. We actually had some here yesterday on our way back, and they are all over the place. They could be anywhere. That rain is starting to come again. The wind seems to be pushing back this way. The storm hasn't finished with us today, but that's what this escarpment on the right could do. It's really, really amazing. And that's what Djuma lacks. They're not close enough to the escarpment to be able to get the benefits of what an escarpment can do. You get an enormous rain shadow that falls around where mountains are, because clouds will push up against it, and they push the moisture up until the moisture hits what we call the dew point and the air vapor, and then it turns into rain. And that's what escarpments do all across the world, and we are in the shadow of that right now. You can probably hear that wind coming through. Perfect conditions for lions to be hunting, but they look like they might have gone down into a little bit of a lugger over there. Just going to stop here and see what we can see from the distance. And down there, the 2 vehicles seem to have moved away. Okay, I can see one. Sorry, I didn't get the name there, Em. I can see one lion in the distance. There, James. A little bit to the right. There we go. Oh, Arisa, you want to know how long injured animals last? Well, it really depends on the species and on just the circumstances. I mean, out here, for example, an injured zebra or an injured wildebeest won't be able to keep up with the herd, so will be eliminated from that nomadic sort of movement and will be picked off quite quickly. Could be a few hours, could be a few days, really. It really depends on the extent of the injury and whether a predator finds them or not. If it's a lion and a pride, well, quite often they can get the benefit of the pride. The pride can look after them. I've seen very badly injured lions survive because the pride provides for them, which is really, really cool. Leopards, on the other hand, there's no one to provide for them, so a leopard that gets an injury really depends on how bad the injury is. But if they can't climb up a tree, there's a good chance they'll get taken by lion or hyena, but it all depends on when those individuals come through. But also, if they're too injured to hunt, then they'll starve to death, and well, starvation can take weeks, unfortunately, with certain animals, but it really depends on what sort of injury. Amazing how resilient some of these animals are, in fact. And well, let's move down there. Oh, okay, there's 2 lions. Let's go and have a look. Let's go and have a look, James, shall we? The reason I took this road from the top was so that we could just slide down. We didn't have to 4-wheel drive up, because you can see how wet the track is. So it's going to be quite muddy. Okay, so, well, we keep moving down. I mean, even Tingana himself was injured, but he recovered. But it seems like Brent has got the Duke in fine form on the hunt.
Well, the Duke has been spotted by a Stenbok, but he's trying to pretend that he hasn't seen it, even though he has. So he's trying to slink around behind the Stenbokie, but the Stenbokie has got its eyes completely locked on Tingana. Well, now it's taken it. No, it hasn't taken its eyes off. There it is. There we go. Off it goes. No such luck for the Duke with that little Stenbokie. That Stenbokie saw him coming from a mile. Unfortunately, we are getting very, very close towards the boundary, and he might cross, which will make me cross. Ha 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 ha. Only joking. Okay. Let's try to get up ahead of him again. Clifford is wondering how long does a leopard scent mark last. From a human being point of view, not more than a few minutes, maybe half an hour at the most. From a leopard point of view, they can last quite a while. Standing by, Peter. OFIRM is nearly on the fire break at the moment. Copy. I'll stay on the eastern channel till he crosses to keep you informed. So he might not cross. He might just. There we go. He's found something sniffy, sniffy. Obviously, another scent mark. There we go. So, sniffy, sniffy, sniffy. It could be a Tundi scent mark, could be a Hasana scent mark. He's going to scent mark on top of whatever it is. He might even, looks like he might even give us a little, no, I thought he might saw there for a second. Obviously, whatever or whoever has been scent marking here is quite interesting to him. Also, Hukumuri has been seen. I've seen Hukumuri in this area as well. So I'd say this is pretty much quite close to the boundary of their two territories at the moment. And the fact that he's scent marked twice in such a short area probably means that this was a Hukumuri scent mark that he smelt. Painted Wolf says lots of popcorn indeed. There we go. Third scent mark makes me think it is almost certainly Hukumuri that he's scent marking over. So we might get lucky with some sawing as well. Maybe not, because he is quite hungry. He did give us a random saw in the middle of the morning this morning. He's literally going to walk within centimeters of us now. You can see this. Look at this, he's going to walk right next to me. Hi, Tingy. Hello, big boy. And how amazing was that? He was right next to my legs. Now I can't even move because he stopped right behind us. So I can't even move the car, so I'm just going to keep still. Darby will show you where he stopped. That's what I said, he stopped right behind us. At the moment, It looks like he's going to head west up the fire break. And if he keeps on going, he might not cross the boundary, because that is almost, it is proper Hukamuri country that now. It used to be part of his territory, but when Mvula sort of failed, oh look, there we go. Watch him go all the way back through the bush this way. Tanya is wondering, how does it feel to have them walk by so close? Sorry, I'm giggling at Sheldon and Peter, who are waiting patiently for him to cross the fire break. He literally stopped at the fire break and turned around and went back to the north, which is great for us. But unlucky for Sheldon and Peter. So as I said, I think there you go, just see his tails. So he just literally got right next to the boundary and then turned around. Okay. He might come back towards the boundary, but I'm hoping not. But off we go. Once more into the fray, so to speak, into ducking and diving between stumps and thickets. But it sounds like back up to the north in the Mara, Steve's lions are starting to play.
What we think is the Olololo pride. Can't really tell in this light. We are in infrared. So the light spectrum is really diminishing for us here. The sun is setting in the west. And these individuals, well, they're still quite full. The bellies, there we go. Oh, there's a fifth one. Oh, hello. Oh, boom. It's time of play and excitement. Everything's nice and cool. And we're not going to turn to it now, but behind us in the thickets is a small herd of buffalo. I don't know if they're all bulls, but Olololo pride are known, I believe, for going for buffalo, or maybe it's just the first time I saw them back in February when I came down the mountain with Jamie, and we found them trying to play around with some buffalo. It was more of a game than anything else. The youngsters have certainly grown since then. I made the mistake of saying there were 17 individuals. There are 16 for adults. Where the adults are, I'm not 100% sure. It's really hard to tell in this light. That one in the middle of the picture does look like an adult. Oh, we've got a tree climber. Oh, let's sharpen the claws, clean them. There's lots of mud at the moment. It's important for them to clean all that mud out. There's also probably lots and lots of meat caught in there. Here in front here, James, these three are having a bit of a playtime. A little bit more fun happening in the front. Gremlin, those eyes indeed. It is always quite eerie looking at them, isn't it? Imagine those were trying to stalk you. You see the one in the middle, she keeps putting her head up. Oh, I think it's a she. It's a young male, perhaps. Yeah, it's a young male. Looking in the distance, these look like three young males, in fact. It's hard to really tell with the light. Very impressive. They're very playful, and they're walking towards where I'm pointing out the buffalo. I don't think the buffalo is what you're going to be interested in right now, guys. There's a huge herd of wildebeest in front and behind us, which apparently they tried to hunt not so long ago. But clearly they're not that hungry. It's just a time of aplenty on the open plains. But their intention seems to be looking towards the large heavyweights of the bush. This could be very interesting. Lisa, playful like kittens indeed. The biggest kitten you've ever seen in your life. Yeah, those are definitely two young boys. See the intention? we're going to stay with them. I don't know how much luck these young boys would have. They're quite young still, probably 14, 15 months, somewhere around there by the size, or by the size of the mane, that is. Here they move through the long grass, nice and wet, and they headed straight towards what I would say is not your first choice, boys. Kim, there are indeed leopards in the Mara. I saw 2 leopards not long ago, well, when I was here in February. We're going to reposition here. Well, are you happy where we are, James, for the moment? Okay, there are definitely leopards, and this area that these lions are stalking into is 100% area where we find leopard. The leopard I found with Jamie as well, it was just down the road here, in this same sort of drainage system. And then again I found, I would assume was the same leopard walking up the road not far from where we are now. So there are definitely leopards, just the terrain, you know, doesn't really warrant seeing them as easily. We found a few carcasses up trees. David earlier this year had a giraffe up a tree. I think Ralph did as well. Baby giraffes. And well, we know that giraffes don't climb trees, folks, and lions aren't very good at putting them up there. So there's only one cat that does. James, I'm going to turn here. Is that all right? Okay, the IR's only got so much distance. I'm just going to turn, try and get these guys in the light. They're going straight for those buffalo. How interesting is that? Connie, how do I protect myself from lightning? Well, we just switch everything off, really. Try not to stand under big trees. They're just disappearing there. Let's move my head. Sorry, James, my head. It's always my head. A bit to the right. They're just about to come over that mound. And if you go above that, you'll see the buffalo just above that. A little bit higher. A little bit more to the right. You'll see the buffalo there on the right. There they are. Okay, so it seems to be a breeding herd. There's a couple females there. Now, I don't think these lions are going to be very successful here unless they can single out a youngster. There's at least 4 youngsters that have gone in. Someone's going to provide the food for these hungry animals. I don't know where the adults are. They're tired of providing for them. What seems to be the case is the adults are killing, letting the youngsters eat and then move off and go make their own kills. What happens when prides start getting quite large? This could be interesting, but chances are if the buffalo do move away, they'll move back towards the thickets there. They generally move in an upward sort of direction when buffalo move away from something, or they might be inquisitive and come and chase the buffalo, the lions, my mistake. They don't seem to be too concerned. Here's another one. She's waiting to see what happens. Very hard to tell age. You can tell very wet fur. Rosalind, male lions start developing the mane from just after a year. You start getting a little bit of fur there. Obviously genetics play a role. And then after 2 years it starts sort of covering the whole neck. And from 3 to 4 it starts becoming a really full mane. If we go back here, James, there's something happening there under that tree. 3 to 4, sometimes 5, they develop the full darkness of the mane. But from 3 onwards, a little bit left, there was a line coming around that tree. I'm going to move up here, see if we can get around that. Very inaccessible area though. We're just going to maybe move up a little bit here and then have a little listen to see what happens. Okay, let me move quickly before something goes down. This female's going in. Cat, I'm a pro at spotting things. Well, it's not that hard in the Mara, but I've always got my binoculars on. Always. Okay, so this area is actually quite nice at the moment. A little bit hard underfoot here. Just going to move in just onto the edge here. See where these lions have gone. We're in the infrared spectrum, so we're not going to be using any artificial lights here. There's quite a bit of a ravine there. There's lots of buffalo. Lots of buffalo through here. Oh, how interesting. It's a proper little valley. That would really be a little bit of a hole for the buffalo if they're not careful. Okay, well, while we get into position here to see what these lions get up to, Jamie has made her way back to the Djuma den.
It's still the Djuma den, but there was nobody home, and as is, you know, our standard approach, we don't stay at a den site if the mother's not there. We don't want to cause an extra level of distraction from the to the cub when it's so small and so vulnerable. Not too much of a risk when they're little like that, but we just interrupt their sleep for no reason. It's not necessary while mom's not there. But I don't see any fresh tracks coming into the den itself. It looked like there were some fresh tracks of a hyena lying outside the entrance. But I got a funny, deserted feeling from that den. Could be wrong. Easily possible. The cubs would not come out at that age if mom wasn't there. So my thinking is this is Aubrey's Road. Now the only reason we found a den here years ago was by pure fluke. We were following some elephants and the hyena cubs walked up to the car. I can't even remember. It must have been when June was still little. And the problem with this Aubrey's area is that there's multiple termite mounds, and the last time we were with them at this den site, they rotated between the different dens. And I'm wondering if that hasn't happened now. I'm hoping actually it's the case, because it means that they haven't moved. I'm hoping they haven't moved north of our boundary, because I think I will sit down and cry if that is the case. Let's just check this. Is it? Oh, I'm trying to remember where the old entrance road looks like it. Let's just go have a quick look. It's the old den road. Can't remember which termite mounds they used. You'd think I would never forget that, but there's a lot of termite mounds in this area. Just the one with a tree. It's not that one, it's this one. Otherwise, what we'll start doing is checking their other known den sites. So we'll go back, start again. And we'll start with Gallagher Shortcut and Mvubu Road and Philemon's Cut Line. I know they weren't here when Tristan checked this morning. There is a possibility that... Wait, where's this road going? I'm sure it used to go that way. Obviously not. There's a possibility that they're just on a big kill somewhere. And that they... No, it does go this way. It's just there's a tree fallen in the way now. That they're on a big kill and they haven't been home to the cubs yet.
Ooh, so you're right.
Yeah. How did that happen? Where did it go?
It wasn't me, I promise. I didn't throw a stick at you. It looked like that from the camera point of view.
Guys, Sam's throwing sticks at me.
Someone got a quick.
I hope someone was quick. Sure. That really took me by surprise. Hello. Well, I'm awake. That was a very slow reaction on my part as well. I thought that if that was going to hit me, it was going to hit me.
Well, almost by like 5 centimeters.
Oh, the dangers. The dangers of driving off-road. Things you don't think about. You hit a stick at the wrong angle. I've frightened myself on a regular basis, and probably my cameraman as well. You drive over a big stick like that and it goes donk onto the car. I'm lost, everyone. I think it's this way. See, there's a lot of tracks around this termite mound as well. I'm still on the road. I'm still on the old den road. I don't know if they've moved. There's a termite mound hyena. Earlier on, Seb and myself saw a hyena cub stick. It was beautiful. Looked exactly like a hyena cub. It had ears and everything.
It's perfect.
We had a great sighting of a stick. We've done really well. Oh, the Ellies have absolutely created havoc here. No, this is it. It was in there. Nope. No luck, no sign. Just one hyena-shaped pile of what actually is elephant dung. There, that's it. There's a hyena dung pile. Okay, onwards back to Brent because he seems to be having more luck than I am this afternoon.
Well, and we're still with Mr. Tingana. I think he's going to go for a drink, so I'm just going to get to the other side of the water from him. Hold on. Chris is wondering, would birds of prey alarm call for leopards? Not really. Maybe a bateleur when it gets disturbed if it's trying to steal a leopard's kill. But as a general rule, do you want to be straight on or side on, Dov? Straight on is good. Cool. He's going to go drink in that little wallow made by the warthog where the doves are, right in front of us. You happy there, Dov? Alright, now we're good now. We don't have a choice, he's going to get here first. So that little wallow made by the warthogs there, and you can see it there, is where he's going to drink more likely because he's not going to have to get his paws muddy because the warthogs have pushed the mud all the way up to the edge. The doves, however, are going to have to disappear. He won't try to catch them, they're way too fast and way too small. There go the doves. Are you going to prove me wrong? I was certain he's going to drink at one of the warthog wallows. Maybe he's not too thirsty. So normally you'll find a leopard will try a drink where it doesn't have to put too many paws in the mud. Oh, he stood on a fawn while he was walking through the block. He had a little bit of a limp there. Don't come drink in front of the car now, because then we won't even be able to see you. Isn't this awesome, guys? So I think he stood on a thorn. He's going to come drink right where we didn't want him to drink. We're trying to get opposite him, of course. He decided, he heard me saying he's going to drink at that warthog wallow, and he's decided to drink at this warthog wallow. But he had a little bit of a limp this morning. It seems to be a little bit worse this afternoon. He could have just stood on a sharp stick. But as he approached the waterhole, he was very much hoping there was a herd of impala or something here. He approached it quite cautiously. I must say, I'm very, very happy he decided to change his mind about crossing to the south. Debbie is wondering if this water smells. Not too bad, Debbie. Now, the interesting thing about Treehouse Dam, even though this water is drying up very, very quickly, as it gets drier, if we don't get any rain before, there's actually a natural seep. So there is actually fresh water coming into this dam at all times throughout the year, even through the really bad dry years. Now what will happen is, once it gets low enough, the elephants will actually come dig out that natural seep, and lots of different animals use it. I wonder where he's going to head to next. He's done quite a big loop so far. And thirsty. It's been quite hot today, and he had that unsuccessful hunt this morning after the Nyala. And I'm pretty sure he's just been laying low during the day in one of the drainage systems. And a nice long drink before it gets dark and he gets busy. What were you looking at? Or did you hear? I heard that oxpeckers behind me. I think he looked up as well, just to make sure there wasn't any potential prey. I just think it's the oxpeckers heading on their way to roost. You can hear them tip, tip flying over. You can hear the doves taking off from the waterhole as well. Now, that funny little red thing you see in the middle of your screen, there, is actually just the front foot of our jack. That's how close he is to the car. And you can hear a dove courting a female. Let's just go to these doves quickly as he walks off. There's quite a funny scenario going on. The two. The male keeps trying to mate with the female. There, he's at the back, and he's trying to be impressive. Let's see. Wait, come on, do the head dance again. She's flirting. She does a few hops in his direction. Oh, hello, Mr. T. Where are we off to now? Oh, it looks like we're going to head towards Savage's track. Okay, well, we're going to keep up with Mr. Tingana as it gets into the dark. We've got our infrared, we've got our thermal camera, so hopefully we'll be able to follow him through into the hours of darkness. While we do that, we're going to send you all the way back to the Masai Mara, to Steve, who's still sitting with lions.
We've come up to the top where we saw vehicles move earlier. Those young boys went in for those buffalo. It was very dark. We couldn't get close enough. And as I expected, the buffalo moved a little bit further away. But then they turned around and they chased the lions away. And the lions have now disappeared somewhere into the thickets. And the buffalo looked very happy with themselves. And so we couldn't see the lions anymore. But now here we've got some more members of the pride. 4 individuals it seems. Seems a few youngsters. That looks like a youngster. It's very hard in this light to identify age on a lion, unless it's got a big fully grown mane. Very hard. It looks like another youngster on the right, and that one in the middle looks like an adult. She's looking down the valley, wondering what's going on, what has transpired with the rest of the pride. They're all spread out. So that's 3 sections of them we found. We found that lioness with 2 youngsters. Then we found 5 a moment ago. So that's 8. And another 4 here. So that's a total of 12. But there should be more somewhere. Here I can see a shadow moving here. Or is that just... No, that is light off of the water in the distance, playing tricks off of the outside of my eye. But they are enjoying themselves, lying down and not making any tracks. whatsoever in the mud, and that reason I say that, folks, is it is Tracking Tuesday, and the official tracking post is going out on SafariLive Official on the Instagram almost as we speak, so go and have a look. Get in your answers. Remember to think very carefully before you answer. All the tests and all the trials and all the examples we've given you in the past should help you to get that track right. But don't fret if you get it wrong. It is a learning curve, and just for participating, you have done a good job. I can't tell you what track it is because I haven't even seen it, and I wouldn't anyway, because that wouldn't be very fair, and everyone's listening, so it wouldn't really be fair because I'd give the answer away to everybody. Well, the wind is blowing quite heavily from behind these lines, as you can tell with the grass there. The youngsters are lying very flat. They're a little bit over it, I think. Really, more food, more hunting, more movement. But there is a very large herd of wildebeest last we saw on the top of the hill behind us. So his pride has been splitting up, no doubt, feeding at will on the wildebeest. Okay, well, from our very sleepy cats, it seems like Jamie Patterson has moved on from the Heineken, as she's got a very tall giraffe having his dinner.
A tall creature that immediately sabotaged our shot by walking behind some trees. Okay, now he's out in the open. You're happy there, Seb? Yeah. There we go. So he is feeding on the only green plant around, which is a guari, and a male giraffe in his absolute prime, at the point at which we sort of term them stink bulls, due to the scent that they give off when they get to around about this age, where their patches or their skin and their fur goes very, very dark in color. They secrete a substance that smells very much like human feces, hence the name stink bull. And it does smell. You have to be quite close to them to smell it, but they do smell. Male giraffe of around this age. He's beautiful though, very deep, rich color. Now, as a general rule, and again, never talk about rules out here, as a general rule, a giraffe will get darker as they age. It's particularly true for males, but sometimes you just get pale giraffe who are old, and sometimes you just get dark giraffe who are young. Oh, he looks... It's the first time I've properly looked at a male giraffe. I'm just totally distracted by this little bird. I think it was a flycatcher. So is he. He's actually listening to it. It was making such a fuss. It was almost like it was alarm calling. Keep watching the giraffe. I'm just going to have a quick look with my binoculars, which are, oh dear, a bit broken. They've had a rough life. It's about this time of year where we start to find birds' nests. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to take us away from the giraffe. Let's just go and have a look here. Yeah. I'm just going to go a bit closer. I just was watching it sit on the branch. I think it was a flycatcher, southern black flycatcher, but I could be wrong. Couldn't see it silhouetted in the marula tree. Something like that. But it flew in here. You see, Seb, that I know it's going to be really difficult in this light. I might try and give you some spotlight. It's in that, if you go to that first limb to the left, there, in that hole, there, that, yeah, in there. And it didn't come out again. And it was making such a fuss before it went in there. I wonder if it hasn't got a nest or something. Oh, I can't use the spotlight. It doesn't work so well. That'd be very cool. Interesting. Really interesting shapes around and scratches in the bark. I'm just going to sit it out for a little bit. Brent has also been very patient this afternoon. He's stuck to Tingana like a glue. Let's see where Tingana's wandered off to now.
Well, he's on one of his favourite paths. It goes from Treehouse Dam directly to the Philemon's Dip Hyena Den. And I've tracked him on this path many times. So it's nice to see that he still uses some of the same routes since I've been gone. Almost done a big loop. So we left him just to the south of that den site this morning, and he's gone all the way, probably 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers south to the... Oh, he spotted something. Or he's heard something. There's a warthog. There's a warthog. There's a warthog heading for its hole. You see it, Dov? There's a couple of warthogs there. Let's see where they're off to. Brave pigs to be out at this time of the night. They are heading towards their hole. I think they might have spotted him. Hello, piggy. Yeah, I suggest you get into underground quickly before Tingana comes to get you. For Hungry Leopard, he seems to be, yeah, and he's made up his mind. He's going for the pigs. But I think I've got a feeling they might get home before he gets to them. See the complete change in demeanor. I've lost sight of the pigs. Can you see them behind us, Dave? Negative. I think he's also lost sight of them, just judging by those head movements. I spotted them. Yeah, I think I saw it at the same time he did. Oh, look at the old man go! Okay, now again, this is where we got to be quite careful about not driving behind him, which of course makes our life a little bit more difficult. Okay, let's stick with Tingana. There's a chance he might get... Oh, jeez, he's moving fast. Try to cut off those pigs. Now, I'm not sure... Can you see the pigs still? No, I can't see the pigs. I'm just going to keep my eye on Tingana. Again, we're being very careful about where we drive as to not interfere. So what I'm probably going to try to do is actually get past him and around to the other side. When following animals hunting, the trick is not to be behind them. It's actually the worst place to be. Firstly, from a visual point of view. Secondly, from an interference point of view. So you don't want to be directly behind them because that might draw the prey's eye line towards them. So you've got to be very, very careful. That's why I'm stopping. I'm waiting till I see I'm in a position where I'm not going to interfere before I can move past him. And we are off-road, so there's quite a lot of big stumps and stuff, so I can't move. Ali says Tingana wants some pork chops. Now, Tingana is a big fan of pork chops. I think he's lost sight of them. Sorry, Dave, that was my fault. I thought I was going to have to drive again soon. The pigs were heading towards that termite mound in front of him. They might have gone into another termite mound that's behind. So I think he's missed his opportunity, the old man, Mr. Tingana. And those pigs have managed to get safely underground before he could get to them. But unfortunately, we do have to practice for our next bout of TV shortly. So we're going to say good night and very shortly. But let's keep an eye on Tingana for now. I'm sure you can't wait for tomorrow's sunrise safari because hopefully he'll still be around. Shame he wasn't quick enough to catch the mobile pork sausage factory this evening, but maybe you'll have some luck with something else over the night. But from all of us here at SafariLive, and of course the Duke of Djuma, we will see you all bright and early tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. And as I said, hopefully the Duke is still about,